basic to intermediate cooking skills for the beginner home chef. Hi, I'm Ashley Rowe, aka Momma Rowe. I have always enjoyed being in the kitchen ever since I was a little girl. I love to watch a lot of cooking shows, and I've always enjoyed helping friends and family learn to cook. I love to find new recipes and also use the tried and true recipes from my yaya's generation. Hi, today we will be learning how to cook eggs. Scrambled eggs, fried eggs, a cheese omelette, and hard-boiled eggs to make deviled eggs and egg salad.
So we're going to be making hard-boiled eggs. We're going to boil them and peel them and slice them open to look like this. So we have our peeled and our sliced open to see what the inside looks like. For making hard-boiled eggs, you need a pot with a tight-fitting lid and 1 dozen eggs. We are going to place the eggs into the pot and cover them with water before we boil them.
So we have placed the eggs into the bottom of the pot, and we have covered the eggs with water. We have turned on the stove to high, and we're waiting for them to boil. Once they come to a rolling boil, we will turn off the heat, cover with the lid, and leave it on the stove for 12 minutes. This is what a rolling boil looks like, and this is the part that you want to turn off the heat and cover with the lid. You're going to leave the pan on the burner for 12 minutes. When this is done, you're going to remove from the heat and run under cold water. If you'd like a soft or medium boiled egg, you leave it on the stove for less than 12 minutes. No longer than 12 minutes because your yolk will turn green. Therefore, you know you have overboiled your eggs. So we're rinsing our eggs in cold water. I have my hand in the water to see the temperature at the bottom of the pot to make sure that all the water through the pot is cold and not warm or hot.
So after we let the eggs sit for 12 minutes on the stove, we ran them under cold water to cool them down, to get them to be pliable and to stop the cooking. So we're going to crack the egg. I put paper towels down to keep the water from going everywhere, and it's just easier to crack on the paper towel, and it keeps your water from being all over the counter. So we're going to hit the egg a couple of times, and then you're just going to use your thumb and reach up under the shell and pull it back. Now it's not going to be perfect every time because there's no perfect egg, so make sure you get that membrane that's under the shell, and it should come off pretty easily. So you'll see here I cracked my egg a little too hard because it's split open. That's okay. You can still use the egg. So we're continue peeling until it's all peeled off. Now if you have some residual things like some shell or different things, you can kind of rub your fingers off, like I have some shell there. So I like to dip it back in the pot of water and shake it off. Now we're going to take our knife and we're going to cut it lengthwise to see how well our egg yolk is cooked. Now, so when you peel back the white, you can see that it's still yellow under there. If it was green, that means we overcooked it. Now, that it's firm here in the middle, that means it is a hard-boiled egg and not a soft-boiled egg, because it would be runny in the middle. So here's our hard-boiled egg. You'll see that it's hard in the center, bright yellow, and it's perfectly peeled on the outside. Not every egg is going to be peeled that way, but that's how you want it to ultimately look.
These are our fluffy scrambled eggs, and we'll show you how to make them in just a moment. So today we're making scrambled eggs. We obviously need eggs. So we have our eggs. We're going to need 6 of them. We have our mixing bowl, salt, pepper, milk, butter, a wire whisk or a fork, whichever you have or prefer. We also have a knife to cut the butter and a rubber spatula to cook with the eggs. You also need a wonderful 10-inch non-stick skillet. Okay, so we're cracking our eggs into our mixing bowl, and all you do is just tap the egg on the side of the bowl to make it crack. You open it up and drop it into the bowl. We're also going to add our salt and pepper. Our salt is 1/4 teaspoon. Our pepper is 1/8 of a teaspoon. And our milk is 1/3 of a cup. You combine this all in the bowl, And we either take our whisk or a fork, I prefer a whisk, and you stab the yolks to break them up, and then whisk. However you feel comfortable, just get it mixed together. Okay, so we've mixed our eggs with our milk, salt, and pepper. We have our pan on the heat, medium heat, so that's about the middle of your dial. Our butter is 1 tablespoon is what we need. So we have our stick of butter, and if you notice, they're marked out in tablespoons. So we're just going to cut a tablespoon of butter and drop it into our pan. And it will melt, and then we can add our eggs to it. So we're moving the butter around to make sure that it melts evenly. Now, I like to give my eggs a real quick whisk, just to make sure everything's incorporated still. Give it a quick whisk, and then pour it straight into the pan. Get as much out as you can, and there we go. Now, we're going to wait a minute or so, not necessarily a minute, but we're going to wait a second, and you can constantly move your spatula like this, very gently. The eggs aren't going to be hurt by it, but it's to make sure that there's even cooking, and then you know when your eggs are getting cooked on the bottom because you can't see the bottom of the pan, obviously. Okay, so we've been stirring a little bit, and as you can see, the egg is coming up cooked. See how it's a little more gelatinous, if you want to say? So we're just going to continue doing this until all the eggs are scrambled and there's no cooked scrambled and there's no more liquid in the pan. Okay, so we have not left our pan because this is a very delicate situation and you cannot walk away. So if you see, there's almost no liquid coming off the eggs when I move them. But there's a little bit of wetness. So we're going to keep moving it around until that has gone away, which will take about 30 seconds. Or less. Now the more that you break them up, the smaller the pieces they are. So you can kind of stab it and break it up a little bit, or you can leave it in bigger chunks, however you prefer to eat them. So since our liquid is gone, we're going to turn off the heat, and we're going to transfer to a plate. And because of the nonstick pan and the butter, we're able to just pour them straight onto the plate for our beautiful 6 scrambled eggs. Okay, so we're going to demonstrate how to cook over medium eggs with our egg yolks runny and our egg whites cooked. So now we're going to move on to fried eggs. You obviously need eggs, a bowl, a clean bowl to crack them in, a knife to cut your butter, a flexible but firm spatula, and again, a 10-inch non-stick skillet. So we have put a tablespoon of butter into our pan. We have cracked 1 egg into our bowl. This makes it easier to pour the egg into the frying pan. Make sure that the yolk stays whole and that there is no egg yolk in our egg. So we're going to put both of our eggs into our frying pan. And we're going to wait a minute, just a second or so, just to see how it forms up. But while you're waiting, you're going to take your spatula and you're going to pull the yolk, or the white, away from the yolk to kind of give it, to make sure that the white is completely cooked so that you're not damaging your yolk, so that your yolk will stay whole when you flip it. So I don't know if you can see it, but the white is cooked. So you see the yellow butter, the white egg white, and the yolk. This is about the time that you can go ahead and flip it. I suggest to take your spatula, turn the pan so it works best for you, and get up under the yolk. Work under the yolk first and flip it gently. Spread out your white so that all your white cooks. And do it to the other egg. And you're going to cook it for maybe 15 to 20 seconds, no longer, because you want your yolk to be runny when you cut into it. Okay, so now because we have the butter and the nonstick pan, our eggs should just slide right out of the pan.
With an over medium egg, your eggs are cooked, your egg whites are cooked, and your yolk is still runny. So when you cut into it, it oozes out and it has a nice salty flavor to it. Now we're going to demonstrate how to make a classic cheese omelet with just plain cheese in the center. Now we're moving on to the cheese omelet. Obviously, we need eggs. You need a mixing bowl, a whisk or a fork, whichever you prefer, butter, a knife to cut the butter, a 1/4 cup of cheddar cheese or any cheese that you like, our firm but flexible spatula, and our 10-inch non-stick skillet. So we have whisked our eggs together. There's no salt, there's no pepper, there's no milk. It is just plain eggs. We have heated our butter in our non-stick skillet, and we're going to pour our egg over medium-high heat into our skillet. Now, before we would move the egg all around. This time, we're just letting it sit so it coats the bottom of the pan, and you want it to brown on the bottom. So we've taken the spatula and we've moved a portion of the egg and tipped it to let the egg run over into the open area to cook. We've moved it back and forth a little bit to make sure that all the area is cooked. We've let it brown on the bottom of the pan. Before we do anything else, we're going to take our 1/4 cup of cheese and we're going to sprinkle it into the omelet. It's a lot of cheese, but it's going to be so good when it melts.
Good luck, buddy.
Okay, so now we're going to take the strobe piece of cheese and we're going to flip the side of it. Okay, as my egg breaks apart, that's okay. We're going to flip it over like so. It's not going to be perfect and it's okay because we're beginner home cooks. So now that we've done this portion of it, we're going to turn the heat off. We're going to move it over to our plate. And because we've used the butter and the non-stick skillet, it's going to slide right out of our pan, like so. And we're going to use our pan to flip the other portion of the egg over, like so. We're making deviled eggs today. Okay, so we're gonna make our deviled eggs after we've hard-boiled our eggs. We need 6 hard-boiled eggs with the shells removed. You need an egg tray or just a plain plate will work as well. The egg tray helps the eggs stay in place. We need a mixing bowl, a cup to hold our piping bag or our quart size Ziploc bag, zip top bag if you want to call it that, our mayonnaise, salt, pepper, ground mustard, a knife to cut the eggs, and a pair of scissors to cut our bag. Okay, so now we're going to take our egg and our knife and we're going to cut into the egg lengthwise, and we're going to very carefully, do not cut yourself. We're going to remove the yolk into our bowl and that film, I don't know what you're going to call that, the membrane, and we're going to do that for all 6 eggs. So for those of you who are not comfortable with cutting, that's totally fine. You can get a cutting board or a hard surface, whichever you prefer. Place the egg on the surface, cut lengthwise into the cutting board so you're not cutting into your hand, possibly slicing your hand open. Then you remove the yolk from both sides. We put 3 tablespoons of mayonnaise, whichever kind of mayonnaise you prefer, into the bowl. I already have 2 in there. Now I'm adding my 3rd, and you can just use your clean finger and wipe your tablespoon to get everything out of it. Okay, so now we have our yolks and our mayonnaise in here. We're going to take our fork and we're just going to crush the yolk up like so to make it crushed. I know that's a technical term. And then we're just going to, it makes it easier to mix is why we do this, is why I do it. Some professionals may not do it that way, but we're home chefs. So we're going to mix all this together, like so. And then we're going to add our ground mustard, 1/8 of a teaspoon, our pepper, 1/8 of a teaspoon, our salt, 1/8 of a teaspoon, And we're gonna mix all this together until it's combined. So we have our bag inside of our cup to help it stand up so we can use both of our hands. We're going to scoop out our egg yolk mixture into our piping bag or zip top bag that is in our cup. Get as much out as you can. If there's some left over, it's totally fine. So now you're gonna take your zip top bag out of your cup and you're gonna push it into one corner. You're gonna take your scissors and chop that end off. Now we're gonna take our egg yolks mixture and pipe it into our egg whites, like so. You kind of push down a little bit, squeeze and pull up. Put it into the thing, squeeze and pull up. So we put our piping bag into the egg white, we squeeze and pull up, like so. So we put our egg yolks, into the white, squeeze and pull up. This is our finished product of our deviled eggs. We have piped our egg yolks mixture into the egg white, and you can either serve them on a platter as so, or you can put them on a plate to serve. So we're making egg salad today. After we hard boiled our eggs, we have peeled them, and some of them don't always turn out the best to make deviled eggs, but they make perfect egg salad. We have our mayonnaise, mustard, relish, salt and pepper, a mixing bowl with our eggs in them, a tablespoon, and a fork. So we grabbed another fork that's bigger, and we're going to take our eggs, and like we did with our deviled eggs, we're going to smash them like this. Now, you can also take your eggs and chop them up instead of smashing them. It gives you bigger chunks. So it just depends on how you like your egg salad to fit on your egg salad sandwich. So once we have smashed all of our eggs up, it kind of looks like a big jumbled mess of hard-boiled eggs, which is what you want. You want some chunks that are bigger and some chunks that are smaller. It's just, it doesn't have to be consistent, it just needs to be kind of smashed up. So then we take our tablespoon, I would say a heaping tablespoon for 6 eggs of mayonnaise, our yellow mustard, I squirt maybe about a teaspoon so far, and then your pickled relish, you want to take your fork and pull the relish to the side and drain the liquid off the relish, because the more liquid you have in your relish, the more liquidy your egg salad is going to be. So I would say about half a tablespoon, a little more. We're just gonna eyeball it, and then you taste as you go, and if you feel like you need more, then you put more of a certain ingredient in. So we're gonna take a pinch of salt, 2 pinches, and a couple dashes of pepper. Then you can take your fork that you mashed your eggs with and mix all of it together. Now remember, you want not a wet consistency, but not a really dry consistency with it either. You don't want it to be too runny, but you don't want it to be too dry. This is our final product of our egg salad. You can either serve it on the side and eat it with a fork, or you can put it between 2 pieces of bread and eat it as a sandwich. Thank you for joining myself, Momma Rowe, in the kitchen with cooking school. Today we made eggs, scrambled, fried, cheese omelet, hard boiled to make deviled eggs, and egg salad. We hope that you enjoyed the recipes, and we hope that you enjoy your cooking as well. Happy cooking, everyone. So today, making hard boiled eggs, we are going to continue to roll.
Why are you recording? Why won't you stop? No, seriously, why would you stop?
You did what? I got to meet Perry the Platypus.
Yeah.
At Disney.
Ooh.
It was the first and only time he was ever on set. and I was working at MGM that day, or Hollywood Studios. So I got to go meet him. It was awesome. So now we're moving on to this. Wow.